Okay, everybody, thank you for joining tonight's professional learning session with Ryan Evarts. Ryan recently presented a version of tonight's topic at, was it the Ohio Middle Schools Conference, Ryan?
Yeah, I just did the Ohio Middle Level Association Conference. Yep.
Yeah, and it was standing room only, legit. He had like 50 seats and there were 70 some people in the room, and it was twice as good as this because it wasn't 11 tips, it was 22. But due to the shortened time tonight, Ryan has condensed his presentation, and we know a lot of people will be joining us on the recorded on-demand sessions. But Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you. I am recording the session. I'll put the link to get your contact our information in the chat room. And Ryan, tell us just a little bit about the conference and about your presentation, and then go.
Okay, so yeah, I just presented, actually, this is the second time I presented this one. I presented it at the Ohio Social Studies Conference, and then I just came back from OMLA, which is the middle school conference. So I was able to present 22 tech tips, and then today I have to be kind of gone by like 3:55, so I promise I won't go more than 25 minutes. And I just shorted it to 11. So if you want to know the other 11, whatever, just email me and I can send you the whole presentation. But I'm glad there's at least a couple people that came today. If you want to unmute or talk or whatever, or send me a chat, then I might not see the chat. I'll try to watch out for it, but just unmute and ask questions or whatever throughout. So Kelly, do you just want me to get rolling, or hopefully, I don't know if you left.
Yes, go ahead and get started, and yeah, whatever you need to do.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen right now, so hopefully everybody sees it. And I'm going to kind of be flipping back and forth between my presentation and certain slides to kind of show you certain things. So I shortened it to 11-minute tech tips, and I found this meme where I feel like during distance learning is kind of how we all felt during virtual learning and hybrid and all that stuff. It says I knew exactly what to do, but in a much real sense, I had no idea what to do. And I feel like that's pretty true of how we were as teachers, that we didn't really know what to do at first, but then throughout the time, people and resources and everything started to come out there. And most of these tech tips that I'm going to tell you today are things that I learned over the past year. I consider myself like a fairly techie kind of person, and this is all mostly stuff that I didn't know before COVID hit. So hopefully this is all new stuff to you. There might be a couple that you've heard of before, but hopefully you can pick one out of the 11 to take back with you. So quick, my only goals for today, these are more like quick previews, so I'm not going to like dive in deep into any of the things that I tell you about today. Some of them are just quick shortcuts and tips, but really it's all about how to save your time as a teacher, or how to best use your time in class. A lot of these are just like quick hacks for you as a teacher that don't necessarily affect your students, but it does save you time in the long run, and it'll help out. And just real quick, why 11? I'm just like a really big fan of double numbers. There's really nothing more than that. I was number 11 growing up in different sports teams, and like all my alarms are double numbers. I always stop the gas pump at like $34.22. I don't know. I'm like very weird with double numbers. They kind of run my life. So it might annoy some of you that it's not like 10 or 20, but I like double numbers. So that's why it's 11. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a couple hacks that I found with Gmail that people either taught me or I found out myself. And so obviously we all use Gmail here in Port Clinton. So if I were to get into my email, just a couple of things I want to point out that you might not know are on your email that are in all Gmail systems. The first thing I want to talk about is snooze. So if I were to open up an email, let me just open up this one from one of my students this year that submitted an ed puzzle. So if I want to remember to look at this email later, there's a couple ways around it. You can first go to mark as unread. If you go to this little 3 dots here, mark it as unread, and it'll stay bolded. That's always my first step strategy. But I also realized this year that there was this button called snooze. This snooze button has been very helpful if I want something to pop up later and I don't want to deal with it right this second. So I click on the clock, and then you can snooze it to later today. You can snooze it to a certain time. You can snooze it to next week. And then it'll kind of clear out of your email for a while, and then it'll pop up again when it gets to that time. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature. I like to have my email kind of nice and clear and not cluttered. So I use that snooze feature quite a bit. Another one that I found out about was if you are sending an email and you're typing an email to somebody. So if I would like type one to Kelly Croy, you type your email, whatever it is. And if I want to send it later, and I don't want to send it right that second, maybe you're working on your emails at like 2:00 in the morning, which I don't suggest, but you want to send it so it goes out in the morning. Like for me, I'm the yearbook advisor. So I might send an email to the whole staff about picture day. And I want it to pop up at 7 a.m. on a Thursday. Well, once you type in your whole email, all you have to do is go to this button right here called send. But instead of clicking send, you click on the arrow to the right and you click schedule send. And then you can schedule when you want to send that email. So you don't send it out right that second. So I really like that feature when I want to send out something at a specific time. You can schedule send just kind of like you do on Google Classroom. You can schedule something out to send at a certain specific time. So I thought that was really nice. And then you might have noticed my emails are all organized by unread at the top and everything else at the bottom. So I like to have those two clear categories because I know that sometimes, you want to go back to an email and you have to dig through 100 different levels of piles to get to that. So all you have to do to change that setting to keep the unread emails at the top is go to this little gear for settings and you scroll down and then there's one setting right here that says unread first. So in that case, I put my unread emails at the top first so that they stay nice and organized. There's other different settings you could also change, but that's the one I choose to. So that's just a couple of Gmail hacks as my first number one tip. The second tip I have for you today is through Google Classroom. I don't know how many of you guys are using the question feature on Google Classroom, but it's super, super helpful. So this is an example of a question that I asked on Google Classroom to my students this year. It was just a would you rather question. And the cool thing about questions is that when you ask these questions on Google Classroom, on their end, on the student end, it pops up with the box that says your answer. So they don't have to attach anything. They don't have to open up anything. They simply get to type their answer right into a box. So the way that you do that is under classwork, when you go to start a new assignment, instead of clicking create assignment, you're going to click create question. And when you do that, you type in your question just the way you would kind of like an assignment. You put the title of your question here, number of the questions that you're asking, set your due dates and all that stuff. And then you click this ask button instead of clicking schedule. So when you click that ask button, then it turns into a question. So if I were to go to, like last week's questions for my class, this was Fun Friday questions. These are just some random questions that I asked. And then the cool thing is I can see all of the student answers to that one question just in one swoop. So it's a really nice way to quickly gauge some, knowledge of certain things. You can use it for fun questions. You can use it for a real question that you're asking about an assignment, and it puts all of their answers right into a nice organized spot. And then over here, I can quickly tab through and put the number that they earn on each of their questions. So that's the feature I use a lot. It's built right into Google Classroom, and I think that's super helpful when I'm asking quick questions. Also, something built into Google Classroom is something called Google Rubrics. So if you use rubrics for any part of your classroom, they have a rubric system built right into Google Classroom, which I find super helpful. So when you're on Google Classroom and you're in your assignment, you're starting a new assignment, you add your attachment that you're going to have them do, and then you want to find this button right here that's called rubric. And if you click that plus sign, it's going to take you to a blank rubric, and you can kind of I could show you how to do this a little bit more in detail if you need me to at a different time. But basically, you go through, you add your different criteria, you put your point values, and then as you do that, it starts to kind of fill in for you. So here's an example of one that I use for a dynasty presentation. I teach social studies. So I said, slide information is the title. Here's my description. And here's what you need to get in order to get 14, 10, 7, and 0 points. And then the cool thing is as you add more different criteria, it totals this point total up here, and you don't have to do any of the math yourself. So if you're not a math teacher, that's really helpful. So as you start making your different categories, it forms the rubric for you. And then the best part of it is when someone turns in an assignment to you. This is just Carrie Sanchez. She didn't actually do the assignment. But pretend that she turned it into you, you're going to see her name up here. You'll see her assignment right here. And then right over here on the side, you're going to see that same rubric that you created pop up, which is really cool because then I can kind of look at the presentation or look at the assignment, and I can click on the point that she deserves on each of those categories. The good thing is you can manually override. So if I click on this 10 and I really want it to be a 9.5, I can just erase the 10, put 9.5 and move on. So you are allowed to override. And then at the very end, everything that you click will total together and it will show how many points they got out of the total amount of points that you can get. And you don't have to do any of the math there. You just return it back to them and the rubric did the job for you. So that's been very helpful. This one I'm not going to spend hardly any time on, but if you're not using Edpuzzle, Edpuzzle is a great way to especially teach online learners or teach, kids that might be absent for a week in quarantine. You can find videos on YouTube, or you can upload videos yourself through their website. And with Edpuzzle, you can add your questions into the video. So if they get to like 2 minutes in the video, a question might pop up and they cannot move forward in the video until you answer that question. So that's another quick one that's been really good for my online learners when I had those. Now I don't have online learners, but I do have a lot of kids that are in quarantine. So oftentimes I will send a video that I did last year to those quarantine people or students, and I will add those questions in there. So they're still getting the material, but you don't have to use your own videos. You can also find stuff on YouTube and put them in Edpuzzle. I could do a whole separate tutorial on Edpuzzle if you ever are interested in that, but I think a lot of people have started to be exposed to that. If you are starting to do a lot of your Google Docs on, Google Classroom and starting to make some worksheets digital, I found a really nice way to make it so that you're not messing up, the students aren't messing up your doc and making it all ugly and not looking good. So my fifth tip here is to use the insert table button when you are creating a Google Doc. So if you are having them do an assignment online, I would say you type your question in here and then you just go to insert table, enter a 1-by-1 table, and then it makes a nice pretty box for them right here. So they know exactly where to type in. And the cool thing is when they start typing, if they go beyond the box, it just extends the box. It doesn't really change up any of your other formatting, and it keeps your doc looking nice and pretty. So here's an example of an assignment that I did. It's essentially a worksheet, but I did it through Google Docs instead of having them do it on paper. And I just added 1-by-1 tables for all of these. And you can change the size of the tables. You can do all of that good stuff. You can add obviously a 2-by-3 table or whatever you need. And it just gives them a nice clear spot to type. And it makes it so that the document itself doesn't get super cluttered or messed up. So that's my fifth tip. Sixth tip, if you're not already using it, Blooket is a wonderful source that has been created, that I've kind of gained more popularity in the last couple of years. If I were to describe it in an easy way, it's basically Kahoot, but there's a lot more different game modes, and the kids seem to enjoy Blooket a lot more than they ever liked Kahoot. Blooket is free. That's the best part about Blooket. It works the same way. You add your questions, you can add your vocab, you can add whatever you want, but then there's just a lot of different game modes. A couple of my favorite ones that the kids really like are Gold Quest and Battle Royale, which is kind of like a Fortnite style Gold Quest. They answer questions and they unlock chests of gold, and then they can like swap gold with somebody or take gold away from other people. And it's pretty cool. And the nice part about Blooket too is that they're constantly updating their different game modes. Like this one's called Santa's Workshop. That's not there anymore. They just did a Halloween one called Candy Quest. They have a fishing one on there now. So all the time they're uploading these new game modes. So it keeps it fresh, and kids get really excited when there's a new game mode that pops up. We use it a lot for review, or if you have a couple minutes left of class, we can get on Blooket, and the kids really seem to like that. The next one I have, number 7, so I got a few left, is Wheel of Names. This is a free website. It's called wheelofnames.com. And if you go, I think it's called wheelofnames.com at least. And if you go to wheelofnames.com, yeah, it is. Then the cool thing is all you have to do is type in a list of students. So I can add like, Mr. Evarts, Kelly Croy, whatever. And they get added to your wheel. And then you can spin that wheel and make it a very nice random game organized spinner type thing. And then whoever gets picked will kind of get applauded, and it'll be popping up on your screen. And it's kind of cool because you can either close it down and keep everybody on the wheel, or you can remove that person from the wheel so that they can't be picked again. And the really nice thing is too, I'm having a little bit of issues with my new computer keeping all my lists saved, but typically it syncs with Google, and you can save your class list on here. So that way, when you open up your class wheel, you don't have to type in all their names again or copy and paste their names again. For me this year, I just have a separate doc that has all their names on it. So I just copy and paste that way. But usually on this website, you can save it to Google Classroom or save it with your Google account, and you don't ever have to type those again. I really like this instead of like, I used to do popsicle sticks and stuff, and this has been nice because I don't have to sit there and, put 100 names on popsicle sticks. Next one is called removing a background image. So this is just more of a pet peeve of mine. I don't like when I see this like border around the pictures. So I really wanted to find a website that would help me take off the borders. So you see how there's like this white box border around the basketball. There's a way that you can remove that through a website called remove.bg, which basically stands for remove background. So if I were to search something like flower image, if I wanted to look at an image of a flower and I go to images here and I wanted to take out everything in the background except for just the flower, I could click on a picture and I could drag that over to the remove background tab, drop it anywhere, and then I guess I have to let it load for a second. Let me do this one. Hopefully it lets me. And you drop it. Apparently it says invalid. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for it to load. But basically what happens is you drag the image that you want over to the remove.bg tab, and then the background will actually remove itself, and then you can just copy and paste that image right into your slideshow or whatever you're working on. For some reason, it's not working right now. Typically, I don't have an issue with it, but it might just be the images, or maybe my computer needs to update. But it takes that background off of the image so that it kind of just blends in nicely with your computer or with your slide. So that is a nice one. If you just search remove.bg, you should be able to figure it out, and I can show you when my computer works a little more properly. The last couple here, number 9, online stopwatch. If you ever set timers in your class, this is another free website. On online stopwatch, they just have, hundreds of different timers on here. You can find a random timer online that's just like basic, or you can set a timer on your phone or whatever. But the kids, I have 6th graders, but I bet like even 9th graders and stuff would think they're funny, especially elementary would think they're funny. You can do like the snail race or whatever. And then all you do is set the timer on online stopwatch. And instead of it, counting down just by numbers. So if I set it for 2 minutes and 11 seconds, for example, I click start. And you see that these snails start to race each other, obviously very slowly because they're snails. And then, if kids finish early or something at a station, whatnot, they can watch the snails race and they have a good time with it. Number 10, last 2 here. These next 2 are Google extensions. So you would have to add it to your Chrome browser. I'm not sure if Chelsea needs to approve those or not, but basically all you have to do is Google search. You need to Google search Google extension tab resize. That's the first one I'm going to tell you about, tab resize. So if I went just to Google and type in tab resize, it should pop up under the Chrome Web Store. Okay, so chrome.google. And then I already have this one on here, so I don't need to add it. But I would right here, there's a button that says add to Chrome. And the really cool thing about tab resize, this is what it looks like right here. It allows you to split your screen into however many parts that you want, up to 4. So a lot of times I do this when I'm trying to grade something. I might have one tab open with, Ed Puzzle and another tab open with Progress Book, so I don't have to kind of flip back and forth. And once I click that button, it automatically sizes your 2 screens evenly so you can have that nice clear resize. So that way you don't have to spend time using these arrows back and forth to make it the size that you want. So I find that really helpful. You could also split it 4 ways if you want to. I just go back to that little extension, 4-way split, and it splits it 4 ways. So that works as well for you. Okay. I lost my presentation now, so I'm not sure which one it's on. Let's go back to 2. Am I still in here? Oh, there I am. Somewhere. There I am. Okay. And then my final one that I'm going to share with you today is one more extension, and it's called Print Friendly in PDF. So if you are ever looking to print out an article or print out something that's online, I just found an article right here called, it was about Simone Biles and how she kind of changed what it means to be a gymnast. And if I wanted to send this article out to my students to read or to do something with, or if I found a historical article because I'm social studies, a lot of times it's really annoying because you have all of these advertisements around the outside, you have scores up at the top or whatever, there's different ads that pop up. And if you want a nice clear copy of this with just the words of the article, I have a extension added on my computer, which again, you would just Google search, called Print Friendly in PDF. Print Friendly in PDF. If I click on that green button, it takes that entire article. It takes out all of the crap, basically. It takes out all of the advertisements and random, pictures and things like that. And it just gives you the pictures and the words to the article. And then at that point, you can print it out or save it as a PDF and you can use it in your classroom. So that's been really nice too. So if you see like an article that you want to use, but there's just so much stuff around the outside edges, That really makes it nice and clean. It's called print friendly in PDF, and it just ends up popping up here once you add it as a Google extension. So I know I went very quickly. I just kind of wanted to expose you to all of that. Plus, I'm kind of on a time crunch here. So thanks for listening. Thank you for showing up if you're one of the few people that was here with us. And if you have any questions, my email is right there, and I can always, Google Meet with you or something, or I stop over to Baton, or if you're, in a district building that's different than that, I can stop over as well. But hopefully you picked up something today, and I think that is it. So back to you, Kelly. And I think you're muted, Kelly, so I can't hear you.
Thanks, Ryan. That was awesome. And I love the carrot you dangled for the other 11. So we'll have to have you back. Ryan is awesome. He's always doing great things. I put a link in the chat. If you want to get our, or whatever the contact amount is, just hit that link and fill out that form. And maybe, Ryan, I don't know if you're cool with sharing the PowerPoint or the Google slide link or something like that. I'll put it on demand. If not, I get it too. But thank you so much. I know you got to get going, and that was very helpful. A lot of cool tools.
I just posted the link to the slideshow right there too.
Okay, great.
If he wants to grab that quickly, I think it should open up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for everybody for joining. Ryan, I know you got to run. Thank you. And we got another great session coming next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Just going to copy and paste your link.
Sorry, that was super fast, Kelly.
No, that was good. Good luck tonight with everything. Thanks for all you do, Ryan. You're awesome.
Welcome.
Yep. Bye.
See ya.